a comprehensive look at trends, fund profiles, and more in Exploring ETFs.
We are going to take a look at value ETFs and some of the top-ranked value ETFs right now with our ETF research director, Nina Mishra. So is there a bit of a rotation that you're seeing out of growth stocks into value stocks?
Yes, we have seen those trends of late. And you know, historically, December is the strongest month for stocks.
But you can't prove it so far this month.
Yes, so according to the journal, the Wall Street Journal, since 1950, December had positive returns three-fourths of the time, which is better than any other month. But you know, this year December started on a rocky note, on a rough note, after a bad November, and with all these concerns regarding trade, tariffs, slowing global growth, and peak in earnings, all these things weighing on investor sentiment, it remains to be seen whether we will see a Santa Claus rally this year.
Well, you know what? We have what, at this point that we're talking today, now 3 weeks left, 2.5 weeks left.
2.5 weeks left.
I'm going to be optimistic for a change.
Okay.
Usually I'm not, but I'm going to be optimistic.
Yeah, let's be optimistic. That's good for all of us. But we have seen that investors have started rotating out of some of the pricier names like technology stocks, and within technology, FANG's group in particular, because these stocks, they led the rally for the past so many years, and they have become expensive now. Now the market outlook being not so rosy, not so positive, investors are focusing on some of the cheaper areas of the market, some of the more defensive names that tend to do better when the market environment is rather uncertain. And so we have seen some inflows, good inflows into value stocks and value ETFs in particular of late. Now that is talking about the recent phenomena, but value stocks have outperformed growth over the long period, very long period, and almost all the markets studied. Cheaper stocks, they do better over the long term. Of course, they haven't done so well in the past, in the very strong bull market that we had over the past few years, 9 years or so. During this times, growth stocks did better, but value stocks have done better over longer periods. So that is why they should be a part of any long-term focused core portfolio. And when you are looking at long-term investing for the longer term, selecting ETFs or stock or funds for your long-term focused portfolio, then you should also focus on the expense ratio, because the cost that you pay on ETFs or other funds, they impact returns over the longer term. And so that is why we are highlighting 3 of the cheapest value ETFs. They also happen to be some of the most popular value ETFs, and also they are top ranked by us. Now these ETFs select value stocks on the basis of, mainly on the basis of price to book, price to earnings, and price to sales ratios. Stocks that look attractive on those metrics are selected in these ETFs.
All right, let's take a look. First, at the Vanguard Value ETF.
The ticker is VTV. It is the most popular and also one of the cheapest value ETF with an expense ratio of just 5 basis points. It is also a strong buy ETF. Now for looking at this ETF, you can go to the quote page on Zacks.com. You see the expense ratio of 5 basis points only, a very nice dividend yield exceeding 2.5%. And then you can go to the Vanguard page for this ETF, and you can look at portfolio holdings and other details. So it has 343 stocks as of now. Financials is the top sector, followed by healthcare and technology. Looking at the holdings, not surprising at all. Microsoft, Berkshire, Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan, ExxonMobil are the top 5 holdings.
Okay. Schwab has the U.S. Large Cap Value ETF.
Yes, so the ticker is SCHV. This is also pretty popular with more than 4 billion in assets under management. This is one of the cheapest with an expense ratio of just 4 basis points, and this is also a strong buy ETF. Again, you can go to the quote page and expense ratio, as I mentioned, 4 basis points, very nice dividend yield of 2.82%. You can look at our articles, report for the CTF, and you can also go to the external home page shops page for looking at the portfolio or other details about the CTF. Not very different from the other one. Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan, ExxonMobil, Pfizer are among the top holdings. In this, 2 financials, healthcare, information technology are the top sectors.
Okay, finally, the SPDR portfolio, S&P 500 Value ETF.
So this is by State Street. The ticker is SPY, value stocks within the S&P 500 index. This is also pretty popular with more than 2 billion in assets under management. Also one of the cheapest with just 4 basis points. Again, a Zacks ranked number 1 ETF, and you can go to the quote page for this ETF on Zacks.com. Read our report and articles. The dividend yield for this ETF is 2.7%. And going to the State Street web page for this ETF, you can look at other details. Not very different again, because they all track similar indexes, and each one of them is pretty good. Whichever you choose, they are all very good. For your portfolio, Berkshire, JP Morgan, Exxon, and Verizon are the top holdings. Financials, healthcare, energy, consumer staples, and industrials are among the top holdings. So you see that this has lower exposure to technology stocks compared to the other two. Just a slight difference in holdings and sector exposure.
And how do they all compare?
So I have taken 2 months of performance on this chart, because as I mentioned, over the for the past few years, value ETFs did not do very well compared to growth ETFs. Growth ETFs had outperformed, but as we are seeing this rotation from growth to value, and we have seen that market has become rockier and more uncertain. So in this environment, value has nicely outperformed the broader market and growth. So I have the broader market represented by the S&P 500 index here, which is down about 7% over the past 2 months. And the value ETFs that we discussed, they fell between 4 and 5% during this period.
All right, do you own either of these?
I do not.
All right, thanks for that. Don't forget, there's always more.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I do hold VTV in the ETF investor portfolio that I manage.
Okay. All right. Now.
So thanks for reminding me about that.
Now don't forget, there's always more ETF information on our website, Zacks.com. And the Funds tab in the top page toolbar will get you right to it. And if you go to the podcast page of Zacks.com, you can see or hear a podcast that Nina puts together. A lot of interesting information and interesting guests in that podcast as well. With Nina, I'm Terry Ruffalo.